Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for participating in today's webinar on how to access paid advertising opportunities around the census. My name is Nina Robbins, and I'm the Program Director for FYI, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. And first, I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Okay. So before we get started, I want to note that this webinar is not only a chance to learn about paid advertising opportunities being provided for the census from the national government and the local government, but also a chance to connect with FYI for future paid advertising opportunities that will arise through our network of nonprofit clients. So this afternoon, we'll start off with an introduction to FYI. Then we'll go over the key points of the census. Then we'll dive into the details of Team Y&R's national paid media campaign. We'll discuss future local 2020 census opportunities. And then we'll wrap up with some information on how to stay connected to FYI and other local community and ethnic media outlets. So what are today's webinar goals? The goals of today's webinar are to learn about the 2020 Census Paid Media Campaign, to start your 2020 Census Paid Media proposal after you get off of this webinar, to make a plan to finish and submit your proposal, to build capacity to access more paid advertising opportunities, and to stay connected to FYI. You may be asking yourself, who is FYI? FYI is a 501c3 advertising group that works exclusively with other social impact organizations and government agencies, as well as nonprofits, to build public awareness about the wealth of social, civic, educational, legal, financial, and health-related resources available to New Yorkers in need. We achieve our mission by disseminating PSAs that generate attention and action on issues of public concern, and we work with our clients to help them identify and access strategic and affordable advertising channels to amplify their message to hard-to-reach and marginalized communities in New York that can benefit most from their advertising. We are a full-service media agency, which means that in addition to media distribution and media buying, we also offer creative support to our clients, including campaign, logo, and marketing material design. Currently, we are building out an impact artist collective of talented creative people that are interested in providing their skills and their talent to our nonprofit clients at affordable rates. If you know of any talented graphic designers, copywriters, illustrators, animators, or videographers, we'd love to connect with them. Next, I'll talk about our most popular service, the Digital PSA Network, which is an ecosystem of over 100 digital screens located in high-traffic community and public spaces throughout New York City. We offer advertising space on the PSA network to our most needy nonprofit clients, totally free of charge. And we have screens located in hospitals, libraries, community centers, senior centers, recreational facilities, and we're actively expanding the network right now. Our digital communications grant opportunity has recently opened, and if you know of any community-based organizations, storefront nonprofits, and even small businesses that may be interested in sharing community announcements with their constituents, we would love to connect with them. So please email me at nina@fy-eye.org so we can discuss next steps. Last but not least, our third service is media buying. And we work with our nonprofit clients that have funds for paid media campaigns to access, as I was mentioning, strategic and affordable ad buys. And we work with community and ethnic media outlets like yourselves to place advertisements in strategic locations that reach our clients' target audiences. So how can we work together? We've worked with over 80 mission-driven organizations throughout our time since 2005 to help them advertise, and many of them serve populations that your media outlets reach. And we hope to find ways to partner with you to get the word out as new opportunities arise. So please make sure to jot down my contact information at the end of the presentation and get in touch if you'd like to learn about paid opportunities made available through FYI in the future. As a nonprofit ourselves, part of our mission is to help empower and protect New Yorkers. And we believe that a strong local media landscape is critical to a healthy city and a healthy community. To support a local media landscape, small community and ethnic media outlets deserve equal access to paid advertising opportunities to help them sustain and grow their organizations. And the 2020 census not only provides an opportunity to potentially get funding to financially sustain your organizations, but it's also an opportunity to take part in potentially the single most important civic issue of the moment that will affect quality of life for all New Yorkers from varying backgrounds, sexual orientations, genders, incomes, immigration statuses, and religions for decades to come. So this is why we're here today. You are the organizations that give voice to the underrepresented communities in mainstream media and the voices of people that are most affected by the political turmoil that we're all experiencing. And you need funding support to do what you do best. We're also here because you will all play a critical role in ensuring that New York State achieves a complete and accurate count and that our state receives the funding and political representation that we deserve. We're here to raise awareness about paid media opportunities and provide guidance where we can about the RFP process. In addition to today's webinar, we encourage you again to stay in touch. So now it's time to get to the focus of today's webinar, which is the 2020 census. As many of you know, the US Constitution mandates a count of every person in the United States every 10 years. And this means citizens as well as non-citizens. And the results of the population count are used to determine government representation in the House of Representatives, to draw legislative districts, and to allocate over $800 billion in federal funding. New York has traditionally been undercounted in the census. In the 2010 census, the initial response rate in New York City was 61.9%, compared to 76% nationwide. We have to do better than this, and this time around it's critical because of the political situation in Washington. So what's at stake? Here are just a few ways that the federal funding determined by the census impacts our daily lives. First, education. Title I schools are schools that have high concentrations of low-income students, and 98% of New York's public schools receive Title I funding through the federal government based on the census count. Second is infrastructure. New York receives $1.6 billion in annual funding for construction and repair of roads and bridges. If we lose some of the funding through an undercount, the plague of New York City potholes is going to get a whole lot worse. No pun intended, I'm trying to add a few jokes in here. And the third issue that I want to highlight is healthcare. In New York, over 684,000 uninsured children receive healthcare through Child Health Plus, which is also known as CHIP. And many healthcare centers in underserved communities that depend on federal grant money are also at risk. These are only 3 of the many reasons why an accurate count is important to the quality of life in our community. I also briefly want to talk about what's different this census compared to previous censuses. This 2020 census, for the first time ever, the Census Bureau will offer the census questionnaire, making it much easier online, making it much easier to participate. In addition to the online option, phone and paper option will also still be made available. Another big difference is the Census Bureau has cut staffing significantly, in half, in fact. And there will be less enumerators going door to door to ensure an accurate count. And third, the controversial issue many of you probably already know about is the question of the citizenship question. The U.S. Department of Commerce has proposed adding a citizenship question to the census questionnaire. Currently, the constitutionality of the issue is being debated in the Supreme Court, and if the question is allowed on the 2020 census, it is likely to further reduce participation by vulnerable populations and immigrants in cities like New York. The ruling is expected by the end of June. If you're interested in learning more about the census in New York, I recommend going to www.newyorkcounts2020.org. Now let's dive into the details of the 2020 Census paid media campaign. While the content in this section of the presentation may be a little dry, I encourage you to stay engaged since this material will help you develop a quality proposal based on the guidance provided by Team Y&R. As I mentioned previously, the federal government is charged with counting every single US citizen and has budgeted $200 to $250 million for paid advertising opportunities across the United States to raise awareness about the census and motivate people to participate. The Census Bureau has contracted media agency VML Y&R, also known as Team Y&R, to manage the nationwide media planning and buying process for purchasing local, regional, and national ad buys to reach every single US resident. The media buying partner agencies include Wavemaker, Carol H. Williams Advertising, Culture One World, G&G Advertising, Kalamoku Group, TDW & Co., Wavemaker Puerto Rico, and Rheingold. I want to make it clear that FYI is not an official partner or mouthpiece for Team Y&R, but they have encouraged us to share information about this paid advertising opportunity with New York's local media outlets and encourage participation by local media outlets that may not have had the opportunity to participate in Vendor Day. FYI participated in Vendor Day. We reviewed all the RFP documents that have been made available. We've combed through the questions asked by media vendors and produced test proposals in the online RFP portal with the goal of making this process easier for you to navigate. During this portion of the presentation, I will only be able to share the guidance that has been provided by Team Y&R. In addition to this presentation, we will share information on how to access Team Y&R's documents and videos directly through their online portal. Now let's review the goals and objectives outlined by Team Y&R. Here are the campaign goals. Motivate all people living in the United States to self-respond to the 2020 census in the mode they prefer, either online, by paper, or by phone. The objectives of the campaign are to raise and keep awareness high around the 2020 census, to encourage strong response rates, and to engage, educate, and motivate people to self-respond. The audience for the census campaign is adults over 18 in the US mainland, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. When developing your proposal, especially any accompanying written documentation, we recommend keeping these goals at the forefront of your proposal and capturing how you will help Team Y&R achieve these goals by buying advertisements in your publication or media outlet. Here are the segmented target audiences and the respected media agencies that will be building out the media plans for each audience. The diverse mass audience will be managed by Wavemaker and Rheingold. Diverse mass includes people from a variety of different backgrounds that speak English. The American Indian and Alaskan Native audience group will be managed by TDW & Co. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The American Indian and Alaskan Natives will be managed by G&G Advertising. Asian audiences will be managed by TDW & Co. And that will include Chinese speakers of Mandarin and Cantonese, Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, and the Filipino audience. The Black audience group will be managed by Carol H. Williams Advertising, and that includes African Americans who speak English, Afro-Caribbeans who speak English and Haitian Creole, and Sub-Saharan Africans who speak French. The Latino audience will be managed by Culture One World for mainland Hispanics who speak Spanish. And Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders will be managed by Kalamoku Group, and those residents are those who speak English. The Brazilian audience group will be managed by Culture One World. The Eastern European audience, both Russian and Polish speakers, will be managed by Wavemaker and Rheingold. And the Middle Eastern audiences that speak Arabic will be managed also by Rheingold. Now let's go quickly over the campaign phases. The Census National Paid Media Campaign will occur in 3 phases. The first is the awareness phase. that will take place from mid-January 2020 through mid-March 2020. And this will account for 20 to 30% of the overall budget. The second phase is motivation. This will start in mid-March 2020 through mid-May 2020 and account for 55% to 65% of the budget. Third will be the reminder phase, and that will take place from mid-May 2020 through June 2020, and that will account for 10 to 15% of the budget. Y&R did not provide very detailed guidance on how to craft your proposal based on this phasing, but has stated that you should include how your proposal will address each campaign phase and include a proposed budget for each phase. If you choose to produce a proposal for each phase, you can develop distinct proposals in the online platform based on the goals and budget information provided here. Unfortunately, Team Y&R has not provided any detail on how the budget will be split by region or by audience. Here are the 4 media strategies that Team Y&R has outlined for vendors. Drive effectiveness, stay top of mind, drive efficiencies, and continuous optimizations. Unfortunately, when it comes to continuous optimizations, Team Y&R has stated that vendors will not receive real-time response results during the campaign. So it will be up to the vendor to capture response rates either through surveys or another more innovative method. And you should consider including your ability to do this in your proposal. Now we'll look at the campaign summary from a visual perspective. You can see the campaign phases from January to March, from March to May, and of course from May till the end of June. The communication goal emphasis for each of those periods. The media strategies that will drive the campaign throughout all of the 6 months, and the budget allocation for each portion of the campaign. As I was saying earlier, you can submit a proposal for one particular phase, for all phases, 2 phases, in whatever manner you feel will get you the winning bid. You can have a flat rate throughout the entire campaign, or you can have specific ad rates per phase. For the creative, Team Y&R has stated that they will be developing all creative formats. This is the logo and the platform for the campaign. Team Y&R has also communicated that if your organization can produce quality custom content, that you should include this information in your proposal with the production cost. For instance, if your organization has a relationship with a neighborhood or community celebrity that represents your community, you could produce a 15-second spot with him, her, or they promoting the census, and you should include this information in your uploaded documents to share with Y&R. Here's the proposal overview. There is not a lot of time to get this done. Unfortunately, Friday, May 24th will be the deadline for this RFP, and no late submissions will be accepted. The format for Team Y&R is that everything should be created in the online portal for the quantitative component of the proposal, and media outlets can upload documents to accompany the quantitative format. And finally, media outlets can create multiple proposals under one company name. Now let's dive into the RFP evaluation criteria. Quantitative criteria will vary by media type. Local TV and radio have different criteria for rated and unrated stations. Magazine and newspaper have different criteria for audited and unaudited publications. And there will also be qualitative factors to take into account during this evaluation. This information can be accessed via the Team Y&R portal and also where this webinar is housed. All information must be submitted via the RFP portal, and they suggest that you use Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or Safari as your browser. Here are the qualitative criteria that will be applicable for all media types. The first is targetability, the potential to be aimed at or customized for a specific market. The second is history or past experience. Include case studies that show your relevant experience. Third is multi-channel elements. Similar to cross-channel capabilities, if your primary platform is print, but you can also advertise on your website or through social media, you have multiple channels that you can include in your proposal, and that will be considered added value. Fourth is significance or cultural relevance. A strong connection and a shared identity with your audience will be very valuable. Brand favorability, which is an established brand with a large following of consumers that trust your organization. In-language support, so your ability to produce custom content in the language of the selected target audience. Mass appeal, which means appealing to all possible readers. Influence, which means the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of your target consumer. Authenticity. Buzzworthiness, which means attracting or deserving widespread talk or attention. And last but not least is spill, which means if your publication reaches another audience that is not necessarily your primary audience, then that is considered spill. Next, we'll focus on added value recommendations. When you receive your Team Y&R RFP Media Vendor Day presentation, you can review these in greater detail. But as you can see, there are different added value priorities for each media type. To include added value in your proposal, insert a rate line in the platform with $0 per unit and include added value in additional information. You can also include this information and are encouraged to do so in your uploaded documents. Here are the creative units recommended by Team Y&R. For local TV, it's a 15-second TV spot or a 30-second TV spot. For local radio, a 30-second audio spot or a 60-second audio spot. I'm going to skip over out of home because I don't think we have any out of home vendors with us today. Magazine is quarter page, half page, full page or spread. Newspaper is quarter page, half page, full page or spread. And for digital, it includes homepage takeovers, advertorial content, infographics, display ads, including standard IAB units, but also custom units available. During the presentation and in the Q&A, MPR asked the question, which is highlighted in the Q&A, if a 15-second live read would be acceptable for a creative length format for local radio. The Team Y&R answer was that vendors should submit their best proposals possible. So take that as you will. When asked about unit length, there was a question, does it mean the maximum allowable unit length or the exact unit length? And Team Y&R stated, please only include units that are listed in the creative unit recommendations. So based on this information, I would suggest sticking to the recommended units here. Next, we'll go over the do not buy guidelines. The 2020 Census do not buy guidelines are created with the goal of preventing 2020 Census ads from appearing alongside inappropriate or highly controversial content, programs, stations, or personalities. Team Y&R will seek to avoid as much as feasible adjacency to content that includes explicit or gratuitous displays of violence, profanity, sex, pornography, nudity, and antisocial behavior, engages in or promotes disparaging, prejudicial, derogatory, discriminatory, or violent treatment of any individual or group, sensationalizes the neglect, abuse, or suffering of any person or animal, exploits or promotes highly dangerous or inappropriate situations or behavior for minors, or incites violent acts towards the government or the American people, including but not limited to terrorism. Finally, here are some RFP portal tips based on our read-through of all the documents. Do not submit until you are ready. Once you submit, you can no longer edit your proposal. Your primary media type and your primary audience type should be your primaries. So let's say you have a radio station that also has a website, but your radio station is your primary media property. You will include that as your primary media type. And then when you enter the portal, you can select radio as well as website as 2 of your different ad platforms. You can also do this with audience. So for primary audience, when you are asked this question, you should indicate who your largest audience is, but then you will have an opportunity to go into your proposal and add ad platforms for specific audiences that are not included in your largest audience. Finally, for ad rates, if you have ad rates that vary by quarter, by day, or by hour, you will need to create a new rate for each unit type, and the documents provided where this webinar is housed will also help you do that. Next, I want to make sure that everybody makes a plan, and we recommend that you include these following steps in your plan to ensure that you'll be able to submit your proposal by May 24th. The steps include inputting your ad platform data, inputting rates per platform, drafting accompanying documents, always reviewing the evaluation criteria and making sure that it is included, the language is included in your proposal, checking your proposal for typos and finalizing your full proposal, and then of course, submitting by next Friday, May 24th. Let us know when you've submitted, and we'll follow up with you once the vendor has announced who is going to be selected to see who has had the opportunity to receive funding through this national paid media campaign. Not everybody will be selected, but we do hope that this webinar has helped some of you understand in a quick way how to participate in this campaign bid. Quickly, I'll talk about local 2020 census opportunities. While they are not available yet, New York City contracts with Miller Advertising and Creative Media Agency for media placements, and we suggest that you get on their radar now, so when the opportunity arises, they know to contact you for proposals. Next, I want to talk about our new peer-to-peer knowledge exchange platform. We've created the Community and Ethnic Media Knowledge Share Google group. It is a space where community and ethnic media outlets in the New York area can share information and spark conversation about local paid media opportunities, trainings, and other resources that can support and sustain local media in New York. We will also be sharing paid advertising opportunities through our network of nonprofit clients as they arise in this Google group. Last but not least, I want to encourage all of you to stay connected to FYI. So email me at nina@fyi-eye.org to join our community of changemakers and learn about future paid advertising opportunities that will help you grow your audience and sustain your organizations. Thanks so much and have a lovely day.